What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to begin to my January 4th NCAA Tournament Bracketology predictions. So, Happy New Year, everyone. Hopefully, everyone had a wonderful holiday season. We're in the new year now, so let's look at the bracket watch. Starting out with here, the top overall seed, Kansas, the number one team, after the top two teams from last time, Purdue and UConn, lost this week. So they both fall out. We'll see where they are, but Kansas takes that number one seed for the moment. Then the first team out, Florida Atlantic, right there. And then the last team in, we have the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Let's look at the bubble right now. Starting out with the last four byes, Michigan State, Providence, Rutgers, after beating Purdue. Rutgers was the team that won that game. And then Oklahoma right there. Last four in, we have Penn State, Utah State, and Oklahoma State. First four out, we have Florida Atlantic, LSU, Texas Tech, and Arizona State. Then the next four out, UCF, Sam Houston, NC State, and then USC. So let's look at the whole 68-team bracket. Starting out with the playing game, St. Francis, new to the field at a 16, as well as Eastern Illinois. Penn State drops to an 11. Oklahoma State, new to the field there at an 11. Northern Kentucky, new to the field at a 16. And then Utah, new to the field at an 11. If you look at the Midwest region here, Kansas, the number one seed, as we saw. Memphis drops down to an 8 seed. Mississippi State's going to be dropping down to a 9. Xavier, after beating UConn, jumps up to a 4. North Carolina dropping down to a 6. We have Cornell, new to the field at 14. New Mexico jumps up to a 7. Oklahoma's going to be dropping down to a 10. And then Norfolk State jumping up to a 15. Look at the South region. Purdue, the team that lost to Rutgers, dropping down. It's going to be staying at the 1, but not the number 1 overall team now. Kentucky going to be jumping up or dropping down to an 8. Their disappointing season continues. Also, another disappointing team. They had high expectations coming into here. Creighton jumping up to a 9. Marquette jumping up to a 5 seed. UAB going to be new to the field at a 12. We have Missouri jumping up to a 6. Rutgers there at an 11, jumping up. Indiana State new to the field at a 14. We have Ohio State dropping down to a 7. Providence new to the field at a 10 seed. And that is the South region. Let's go to the West. Here we have Arizona, the number 1 seed right there. Eastern Washington new to the field at a 16. We have Illinois dropping down to an 8. Iowa State jumping up to a 5 seed. We have Dayton new to the field at a 12. Miami jumping up to a 4. We have Utah Valley new to the field at a 13. TCU jumping up to a 6. We have Auburn dropping down to a 7, and then Colgate jumping up to a 15. In the East region, we have UConn at the 1 seed. Virginia Tech going to be dropping down to an 8. We have Baylor dropping down to a 4, as well as Liberty jumping up to a 13. West Virginia is going to be dropping down to a 6. Virginia going to be jumping up to a 3. Then we have Kansas State jumping up to a 7. Maryland dropping down to a 10. And then UNC Greensboro new to the field at a 15. So now that is settled, let's look at the whole bracket. Starting out with the first 4 games, we have Penn State against Oklahoma State here. I'm going to go with Penn State in this one. And then St. Francis plays Eastern Illinois. I'm going to go with Eastern Illinois. Utah State against Utah. I'm going to go with Utah State there. And then Nicholls State apparently already there. I'm going to go with Nicholls State. So let's look at the bracket now. Starting out with this region with Kansas against Eastern Illinois. I'm going to take Kansas there. Memphis versus Mississippi State. I'm going to go with Memphis. Wisconsin plays Kent State. Not a big fan of Wisconsin. Let's go with the 12/5 upset here. Kent State's a good program, and I think that they could pull off out of the, I believe the MAC or, the MAC, I believe. So yeah, Kent State I do think is the better team there, and I think that they can get, not better team, but I do think that they're going to be able to pull off an upset right there. And then Xavier versus Oral Roberts. I know Xavier just pulled off a big upset over UConn. I am still not sold on Xavier, and I am sold on an Oral Roberts team that's had some history on pulling off upsets in March Madness. We know a couple years ago. But Oral Roberts against Xavier, I'm not a big fan of Xavier. I'm going to be straight up honest. I don't really trust them. I'm not a big fan of them. And I'm going to go with Oral Roberts, which I am a fan of as a 13 seed. So Oral Roberts for the second time in a row in these bracketology advances. North Carolina gets Penn State. I'm going to go with North Carolina. And then Arkansas, I do think it beat Cornell. New Mexico, I think, can beat Oklahoma, and UCLA can beat Norfolk State. All right, moving on down here, we have Purdue against Nicholls State. I'm going to go with Purdue. Kentucky versus Creighton. Been two weird seasons for both of these teams. Kentucky's just too good of a program there as an 8 seed. No, I'll go with 9 seed Creighton there. I believe in Creighton as a team. So I'm going to go with Creighton over Kentucky. Marquette against UAB. I'm going to go with Marquette. Duke, I do believe, could beat James Madison. Rutgers just pulled off that big upset, but I do like Missouri as a team, so I am going to go with Missouri. Texas, I do think, can beat Indiana State. I'm going to go with a 10-7 upset here for Providence's win as they make the field here. And then Tennessee, I do think, can beat Longwood. All right, going over here, we have Arizona versus Eastern Washington. I'm going Arizona. Illinois, I do think, can beat St. Mary's. Iowa State against Dayton. Dayton's a good team out of the A10. Yeah, I'll go with the 12-5 upset. Let's do it. Dayton, good program there. Or not 10-7, 12-5. Big time win. I think Dayton is a good team right there. And I'm not. Iowa State's a good team, but I think Dayton can pull off the upset. All right, Miami against Utah Valley. I'm going to go with Miami. TCU, I think, can beat Utah State. And Gonzaga can beat UC Santa Barbara. Then down here, Auburn against Michigan State. I do believe I'm going to go with the 10 seed Michigan State to pull off the win. And then Houston, not Colgate. Houston, I think, can beat Colgate. All right, going down here, we have UConn against Grambling State. I'm going UConn. Virginia Tech, I think, can beat San Diego State. Indiana, I think, can beat Iona, as well as Baylor beating Liberty. Charleston. I'm going with the 11-6 upset. I'm a big fan of Charleston. West Virginia's a good 6 seed. Don't get me wrong, but Charleston, man, this is a team to watch out for. They're a gritty team, and I think that they could pull off a win. Virginia, I think, can beat UMass Lowell, and then Kansas State, I think, can beat Maryland, and Alabama going to beat UNC Greensboro. All right, so let's go over here. Kansas against Memphis. I'm going to go with Kansas in that game. And then a 12 versus a 13 seed here. Kent State, Oral Roberts. Last time I went with Oral Roberts in the Sweet 16. I don't know who they played. I forgot. But I'm going to go with Kent State here this time. Two teams that could win that game. Those two could be close. But I'm going Kent State. And then Arkansas versus North Carolina. Let's go with a 6-3 upset. North Carolina beating Arkansas. Not a big fan of Arkansas, like I've said. And then New Mexico versus UCLA. Okay, I really do like New Mexico as a team, but I just don't think it's going to be enough to beat UCLA there. That's a very storied program. And then Purdue, I do think, can beat Creighton. Marquette against Duke, good matchup. But I'm going to go with let's go with Marquette there. 5-4 upset. Probably a big upset in some eyes with Duke, but I'm going to go with Marquette. I believe in them as a team. Texas against Missouri. Let's go with Texas in that game. And then Tennessee versus Providence. I'm going to go with Tennessee. All right, over here we have Arizona versus Illinois. I'm going Arizona. Dayton versus Miami. Should we send another 12 seed into the Final Four? I don't think they can beat Miami, though Miami's a good team, so I'm going to go with Miami. TCU against Georgia. Gonzaga, sorry. I really do like TCU, but against Gonzaga, I don't see it happening. And then Houston, I think, can beat Michigan State. So all chalk there. We have 1 through 4 advancing on to the Sweet 16 in that region. UConn against Virginia Tech. I think UConn can win that game. Indiana against Baylor. Interesting matchup. I do like Indiana, but I do think Baylor's poised to go to the Sweet 16 this season. I'm going Baylor. Virginia against Charleston. Do we send the 11 seed Charleston? I don't think so. Virginia is a good team. Not quite yet. And then Kansas State. I'm going Kansas State over Alabama. Not a big fan of Alabama as a 2 seed. And Kansas State's one of my favorite underdog teams if they make it to the round of 32. So let's go with Kansas State pulling off a 7-1 upset. All right. For a spot in the Elite Eight, Kansas versus Kent State. Don't think Kent State can pull off that upset. And then North Carolina versus UCLA. Gonna go with UCLA. All right, over here we got Purdue against Marquette. Still believe in Purdue as a team. I'm going Purdue. And Texas versus Tennessee. Good game here. Last time I picked, I'm gonna have to go with the 2 seed there. I'm gonna have to go with Tennessee, but that's a good matchup. A battle of 2 orange teams. Over here, Arizona versus Miami. Let's go with Arizona. So all the 1 seeds that I picked so far are advancing. And then Gonzaga versus Houston. I'm going to go with a 3-2 upset here. Gonzaga, did these 2 teams play earlier this year? I'm not quite sure, but if they did, I would know that Houston won. So I think that Gonzaga, if they did, can redeem themselves. I'm not sure. I'm just going off a limb there, guys. I'm sorry, but yeah, I think that Gonzaga is a good team, so I'm going to go with them. UConn versus Baylor. I'm going with a 4-1 upset here. I'm going with Baylor. UConn's definitely my least favorite 1 seed, and I do think Baylor is a good team, so I'm going to go with Baylor there. And then Virginia against Kansas State. I just don't think it's going to be enough for Kansas State to continue their run. So a lot of chalk here. We have 1 versus 2 seeds. That's not normally there. So Kansas versus UCLA. I'm going with Kansas in this matchup to send them to the Final Four. Purdue versus Tennessee. I do think these 2 teams met in the national championship in my last video. Last video I went Purdue. Purdue just lost. I believe in Tennessee as a team, so I'm going to go with the 2 seed Tennessee to win that one. Arizona versus Gonzaga. I'm going to go with... Let's send Gonzaga. Give Gonzaga some love. 3-1 upset there. I like Gonzaga as a team, so I think that they can pull off that upset. And then Baylor versus Virginia, the 4 versus a 3 matchup. Do we send a rematch of the national championship a couple years ago? Let's do it. Why not? I do think Baylor is a better team over Virginia anyway, so let's go with Baylor. So national championship time. Kansas versus Tennessee. Number 1 overall seed. Can they get to back-to-back national championships? I don't think so this time, though. I'm going with Tennessee. Tennessee is one of my favorite teams out there right now, so I think Tennessee can win that one. And then Gonzaga versus Baylor, a rematch. I think Gonzaga can get the best of Baylor right there, pull off the win. So for the national championship, we have Tennessee, we have Gonzaga. Let's go with Gonzaga. I have a feeling about Gonzaga for some reason this time. Normally they're a team that, has came short. Maybe this is their year, and I think let's just give them some love here and give them the national championship. And Tennessee for back-to-back bracketology is going to come up short. So anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully you all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your Final Four in this bracketology or whatever you want. Anyway, peace